Right now, at this very moment, you are one decision away from completely transforming your life. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel ready, but right now. The difference between people who live extraordinary lives and those who settle for mediocrity isn't talent, luck, or circumstances. It's knowledge. Specifically, it's knowing the fundamental principles that govern success, happiness, and fulfillment. Most people spend their entire lives learning these lessons the hard way through painful trial and error, through decades of mistakes and missed opportunities. But what if you could skip all that? What if you could learn in the next few hours what most people take decades to figure out? That's exactly what this audiobook is about. These aren't just random tips or motivational fluff. These are the 15 most powerful life lessons that once truly understood and applied will change everything. Each lesson has been proven by science, validated by the most successful people in history, and tested in the real world. But here's the crucial part. Knowing these lessons isn't enough. You have to internalize them. Make them part of who you are and apply them consistently. Most people will listen to this, nod along, and then go back to their old patterns. Don't be most people. If you commit to truly understanding and implementing these lessons, your life will never be the same. You'll think differently, act differently, and achieve results that once seemed impossible. So, let's begin. Chapter 1: The Power of Delayed Gratification. If I could give you just one skill that would guarantee your success in every area of life, it would be this: the ability to delay gratification. This single capacity separates the ultra-successful from everyone else. It's the difference between those who build wealth and those who stay broke, between those who achieve their dreams and those who remain stuck in mediocrity. Yet, most people have never truly mastered this skill. We live in a world designed to make you want everything. Now, social media gives you instant validation. Streaming services provide immediate entertainment. Online shopping delivers instant purchases, and fast food satisfies immediate hunger. Your brain has been hijacked by a culture of instant gratification, and it's destroying your potential. But here's what most people don't understand about delayed gratification. It's not about deprivation or suffering. It's about understanding time and leverage. When you delay gratification, you're not giving up pleasure, you're multiplying it. You're trading small, immediate rewards for massive life-changing ones. The most famous study on this topic is the Stanford marshmallow experiment. Researchers gave children a choice: eat one marshmallow now or wait 15 minutes and get 2 marshmallows. They then followed these children for decades. The results were staggering. The children who could delay gratification had higher test scores, lower rates of obesity, better social skills, and were more successful in virtually every measurable way. But this study reveals something even deeper. The children who succeeded didn't just have more willpower. They had different strategies. They distracted themselves. They reframed the situation. They focused on long-term benefits instead of immediate desires. In other words, delayed gratification isn't just about willpower. It's about intelligence. Let's break down the psychology of delayed gratification. Your brain has 2 systems. The LYIC system, which craves immediate rewards, and the prefrontal cortex, which can plan for the future. The limbic system is powerful and automatic. When you see something you want, it floods your brain with chemicals that make you feel like you need it right now. The prefrontal cortex is slower and requires conscious effort, but it's where your rational thinking happens. Most people let their limbic system run their lives. They buy things they can't afford because they want them now. They eat junk food because it tastes good now. They skip workouts because relaxing feels better now. They avoid difficult conversations because comfort feels safer now. And then they wonder why their lives don't improve. The people who master delayed gratification have trained their prefrontal cortex to override their limbic system. They've developed what psychologists call executive function, the ability to control impulses, focus attention, and make decisions based on long-term consequences rather than immediate emotions. Here's how to develop this superpower. Start with the 10-10 rule. When you're about to make an impulse decision, ask yourself, how will I feel about this in 10 minutes, 10 months, and 10 years? This simple question activates your prefrontal cortex and forces you to think beyond the moment. Another powerful technique is visualization. When you're tempted to give in to immediate gratification, Vividly imagine your future self. See yourself 1 year from now if you make the disciplined choice. Feel the pride, the confidence, the freedom. Then imagine yourself 1 year from now if you give into the impulse. Feel the regret, the frustration, the stagnation. Make your future self more real than your present desire. Create what I call gratification delays. Instead of saying no to things you want, tell yourself you'll have them later. Want to buy something? Wait 24 hours. Want to eat junk food? Tell yourself you can have it tomorrow. Want to skip your workout? Promise yourself you'll do it in an hour. Often the desire will pass. But even if it doesn't, you've strengthened your delay muscle. The compound effect of delayed gratification is extraordinary. Every time you choose long-term benefit over short-term pleasure, you're not just making a good decision in that moment. You're literally rewiring your brain. You're strengthening the neural pathways associated with self-control and weakening the ones associated with impulsivity. This skill applies to everything in finances. Delayed gratification means investing instead of spending, which creates compound growth. In health, it means choosing nutritious food and exercise over comfort and convenience, which creates exponential improvements in energy and longevity. In relationships, it means having difficult conversations and doing the work instead of avoiding conflict, which creates deeper connections and trust in your career. Delayed gratification means investing in skills and education instead of just collecting paychecks, which creates massive increases in earning potential. In personal development, it means doing the hard work of self-improvement instead of seeking quick fixes, which creates lasting transformation. But here's the secret most people miss. Delayed gratification gets easier with practice. Your brain is incredibly adaptable. Every time you delay gratification, you're literally changing your brain structure. You're increasing the density of gray matter in your prefrontal cortex and strengthening the connections between different brain regions. Studies show that people who practice delayed gratification regularly actually start to prefer long-term rewards over short-term ones. They develop what researchers call a future orientation. They start thinking in terms of decades instead of days, of systems instead of events, of processes instead of outcomes. The most successful people in every field have mastered this principle. Warren Buffett delayed gratification by investing in boring stocks for decades instead of chasing quick profits. Michael Jordan delayed gratification by practicing obsessively instead of partying. Steve Jobs delayed gratification by perfecting products for years instead of rushing them to market. These people understood something profound. In a world where everyone wants everything now, the person who can wait has unlimited leverage. While others are spending their money, you're investing it. While others are seeking comfort, you're building skills. While others are avoiding difficulty, you're embracing growth. This doesn't mean you can never enjoy yourself or that you should live like a monk. It means being strategic about when you choose immediate gratification and when you choose long-term benefit. It means understanding that every choice you make is either moving you toward your ideal future or away from it. The key is to make delayed gratification feel good. Celebrate the moments when you choose long-term benefit. Feel proud of your discipline. Visualize your future success. Make the process of building self-control rewarding in itself. Remember, the ability to delay gratification isn't just a nice skill to have. In a world full of instant everything, it's your secret weapon. While everyone else is trapped in the cycle of immediate gratification and long-term regret, you'll be building the life of your dreams, one disciplined choice at a time. Chapter 2. Master your internal dialogue. Every single day you have between 12,000 and 60,000 thoughts. Most of these thoughts are repetitive, and for the majority of people most of these thoughts are negative. You have a constant conversation going on in your head, and this internal dialogue shapes everything. Your emotions, your decisions, your actions, and ultimately your entire life. Yet most people are completely unconscious of their internal dialogue. They let their minds run on autopilot, accepting whatever thoughts pop up as truth. This is one of the biggest mistakes you can make. Because your internal dialogue doesn't just reflect your reality. It creates it. Here's what most people don't realize. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. You have the power to choose which thoughts to believe, which ones to ignore, and which ones to deliberately cultivate. But first, you need to become aware of what's actually going on in your head. Start paying attention to your internal dialogue for just one day. Notice the tone, the content, the patterns. Most people are shocked when they realize how negative and self-defeating their inner voice actually is. The average person's internal dialogue sounds something like this. I'm not good enough. This is too hard. I don't have time. What if I fail? I should have done this differently. Why does this always happen to me? I'm not smart enough. I'm not talented enough. I'll never be successful. This kind of thinking is like having a toxic friend following you around all day, constantly undermining your confidence and pointing out everything that could go wrong. You would never tolerate this from another person. Yet you let your own mind do it to you constantly. The most successful people in the world have learned to master their internal dialogue. They don't just think positively, they think strategically. They use their internal dialogue as a tool for growth, motivation, and problem-solving instead of self-criticism and worry. There are several types of destructive internal dialogue that you need to recognize and eliminate. The first is catastrophic thinking. This is when your mind immediately jumps to the worst-case scenario. You're running late for a meeting and your mind tells you that you're going to get fired. You feel a pain in your chest and your mind tells you that you're having a heart attack. You make a mistake and your mind tells you that you're a complete failure. Catastrophic thinking is not just unpleasant, it's completely irrational. The worst-case scenario almost never happens. And even when things do go wrong, they're rarely as bad as your mind predicts. Yet, this kind of thinking creates massive amounts of stress and anxiety, which actually makes you perform worse and increases the likelihood of negative outcomes. The second type of destructive thinking is all or nothing thinking. This is when your mind sees everything in black and white with no middle ground. You're either perfect or you're a failure. You're either completely healthy or you're completely unhealthy. You're either completely successful or you're completely unsuccessful. This kind of thinking is dangerous because it makes you give up at the first sign of imperfection. You eat one unhealthy meal and decide that your diet is ruined, so you might as well eat junk food for the rest of the week. You make one mistake at work and decide that you're terrible at your job. You have one bad day and decide that your entire life is falling apart. The third type of destructive thinking is personalization. This is when your mind makes everything about you, even when it's not. Someone is rude to you and you assume it's because there's something wrong with you. You don't get a job and you assume it's because you're not good enough. A relationship ends and you assume it's entirely your fault. This kind of thinking is not only inaccurate, it's incredibly damaging to your self-esteem. Most of the time, other people's behavior has nothing to do with you and everything to do with what's going on in their own lives. The fourth type of destructive thinking is mind readating. This is when you assume you know what other people are thinking about you. You walk into a room and someone doesn't smile, so you assume they don't like you. You give a presentation and someone looks bored, so you assume you're boring. You send a text and don't get an immediate response. So, you assume the person is angry with you. The reality is that you have no idea what other people are thinking. And most of the time, they're not thinking about you at all. They're thinking about their own problems, their own lives, their own challenges. Now that you understand the destructive patterns, let's talk about how to master your internal dialogue. The first step is awareness. You can't change what you're not aware of. Start catching yourself in the moment when you're engaging in negative self-talk. Don't judge it, just notice it. The second step is challenging your thoughts. When you notice a negative or destructive thought, ask yourself, is this thought actually true? Is this thought helpful? Is this thought based on facts or emotions? What evidence do I have for this thought? What evidence do I have against it? Most of the time, you'll realize that your negative thoughts are not based on reality. They're based on fear, past experiences, or irrational assumptions. Once you realize this, you can choose to let them go. The third step is replacing destructive thoughts with constructive ones. Instead of "I'm not good enough," try "I'm learning and improving every day." Instead of "this is too hard," try "this is challenging and challenges help me grow." Instead of "I'll never be successful," try "success takes time and I'm willing to put in the work." The key is not to force positive thinking when you don't believe it. The key is to find thoughts that are both positive and believable. If you're struggling financially and you try to tell yourself, "I'm rich," your mind will reject it because it's obviously not true. But if you tell yourself, "I'm learning how to build wealth," that's something you can actually believe. The fourth step is developing what I call power questions. Instead of asking yourself disempowering questions like "Why does this always happen to me?" or "Why am I so stupid?" start asking empowering questions like "What can I learn from this? How can I use this experience to grow? What opportunity might be hidden in this challenge?" The questions you ask yourself determine the quality of your thinking and ultimately the quality of your life. Successful people ask better questions so they get better answers. The fifth step is creating positive affirmations that actually work. Most people's affirmations are too generic and unbelievable. Instead of "I am successful," try "I am committed to taking daily action toward my goals." Instead of "I am confident," try "I am developing confidence through continuous learning and growth." The sixth step is practicing gratitude as part of your internal dialogue. Instead of focusing on what's wrong or what you don't have, deliberately focus on what's right and what you do have. This isn't just feel-good advice. It's backed by neuroscience. Gratitude literally rewires your brain to notice more positive aspects of your life. The seventh step is developing what psychologists call self-compassion. This means treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would show a good friend. When you make a mistake, instead of beating yourself up, ask yourself what you would say to a friend in the same situation. Then say that to yourself. Remember, mastering your internal dialogue is not about becoming unrealistically positive or ignoring problems. It's about becoming realistic, strategic, and empowering in your thinking. It's about using your mind as a tool for growth rather than a weapon against yourself. Your internal dialogue is the most important conversation you'll ever have because it never stops. Make sure it's a conversation that empowers you, motivates you, and moves you toward the life you want to create. Chapter 3. The Art of Strategic Saying No. One of the most powerful words in the English language is also one of the most underused. Most people struggle with saying no. And this single weakness destroys more dreams, wastes more time, and creates more stress than almost any other factor. Learning to say no strategically is not just a nice skill to have. It's absolutely essential for anyone who wants to achieve anything significant in life. Here's the brutal truth. Every yes is a no to something else. When you say yes to one thing, you're automatically saying no to everything else you could be doing with that time, energy, and attention. Most people don't realize this. They say yes impulsively, reactively, trying to please everyone and avoid conflict. The result is a life filled with other people's priorities and empty of their own. The most successful people in the world are not just good at what they do. They're exceptionally good at what they don't do. They understand that focus is not about doing more things. It's about doing fewer things with greater intensity and precision. They've mastered the art of strategic elimination. Warren Buffett, one of the world's most successful investors, has a simple framework for making decisions. He writes down the 25 things he wants to accomplish. Then he circles the top 5. Those become his priorities. But here's the crucial part. The other 20 items don't become his secondary priorities. They become his avoid at all costs list. He knows that if he doesn't actively eliminate the merely good opportunities, he'll never have time for the truly great ones. This principle applies to every area of your life in your career. Saying yes to every opportunity, every meeting, every project means saying no to the deep work that creates real value in your relationships. Saying yes to every social invitation means saying no to quality time with the people who matter most. In your personal development, saying yes to every learning opportunity means saying no to mastering any particular skill. The reason most people struggle with saying no is psychological. We're wired to seek approval and avoid rejection. Saying no feels like we're disappointing someone, damaging a relationship, or missing out on an opportunity. But this thinking is backwards. By saying yes to everything, you're guaranteeing that you'll do everything poorly. You're ensuring that you'll be overwhelmed, stressed, and ineffective. Real success requires real choices. And real choices require real sacrifices. You cannot have it all. And trying to have it all guarantees that you'll have nothing of real value. Let me share with you the framework for strategic saying no. First, you need to get crystal clear on your priorities. Most people don't say no effectively because they don't know what they're saying yes to. If you don't have clear goals, clear values, and clear priorities, then every opportunity looks appealing and every request seems important. Start with your long-term vision. Where do you want to be in 5 years? What kind of life do you want to be living? What kind of person do you want to become? Once you have clarity on your destination, it becomes much easier to recognize which opportunities move you toward that vision and which ones distract from it. Next, create what I call a decision filter. This is a set of criteria that help you quickly evaluate opportunities. For example, your filter might include questions like, does this align with my core values? Does this move me closer to my most important goals? Is this the best use of my time and energy? Will I regret saying no to this in 5 years? The key is to make these decisions based on strategy, not emotion. When someone asks you to do something, don't answer immediately. Take time to run the request through your filter. Most people make the mistake of responding with their first impulse, which is usually driven by emotion rather than logic. Learn to distinguish between good opportunities and great opportunities. Good opportunities are everywhere. Great opportunities are rare. If you're always saying yes to good opportunities, you'll never have space for great ones. This is what productivity experts call the tyranny of small decisions. Each individual, yes, seems harmless, but collectively they consume all your resources. Develop standard responses for common situations. When someone asks you to do something that doesn't align with your priorities, have ready phrases like, I appreciate you thinking of me, but I can't commit to that right now. That sounds interesting, but it's not a priority for me this year. I have to decline, but I hope you find someone who can help. Notice that these responses are polite, but firm. You're not making excuses or over-explaining. You're simply stating your decision. Most people make the mistake of giving elaborate justifications for their no, which opens the door for negotiation and pressure. Practice saying no to small things first. Start with low-stakes situations where it's easy to say no. This builds your no muscle and makes it easier to say no when it really matters. Every time you say no to something unimportant, you're strengthening your ability to say no to something important. Understand the different types of no. Sometimes you need to say no to the request, but yes to the relationship. I can't help with this project, but let me introduce you to someone who might be perfect for it. Sometimes you need to say no for now, but leave the door open for later. I can't commit to this right now, but ask me again in 6 months. Sometimes you need to say no to part of a request, but yes to another part. I can't attend the full conference, but I could speak at the opening session. Be particularly careful about saying yes to recurring commitments. A weekly meeting doesn't seem like a big deal, but it's 52 hours per year. A monthly obligation doesn't seem significant, but it's a commitment that extends far into the future. Before you say yes to anything recurring, multiply it out and see if you still think it's a good use of your time. Learn to recognize and avoid the manipulation tactics that people use to get you to say yes. The guilt trip. I guess I'll have to find someone else who cares about this cause. The false urgency. I need an answer right now. The flattery. You're the only person who can do this. The social pressure. Everyone else has already said yes. These tactics work because they trigger your emotional responses rather than your rational thinking. When you recognize them, you can respond strategically instead of reactively. Create boundaries around your time and energy. Decide in advance how many hours per week you'll spend on work, how many evenings per week you'll keep free, how many weekends per month you'll reserve for yourself. When someone asks for something that would violate these boundaries, it's easy to say no because you've already made the decision. Remember that saying no is not selfish. It's strategic. By protecting your time and energy, you're ensuring that you can give your best to the things and people that matter most. By saying no to the good, you're making space for the great. The people who respect you most will understand and appreciate your boundaries. The people who don't respect your boundaries are exactly the people you need to say no to most often. Finally, understand that every master of achievement is also a master of elimination. The greatest leaders, entrepreneurs, artists, and athletes in history didn't become great by saying yes to everything. They became great by saying no to almost everything. So, they could say yes to the few things that mattered most. Your ability to say no strategically will determine your ability to achieve anything significant. Start practicing today. Start with small decisions and watch how this single skill transforms your life. Chapter 4. Compound your habits, not just your money. Everyone talks about compound interest when it comes to money. But few people understand that habits compound in exactly the same way. In fact, the compound effect of your daily habits is far more powerful than compound interest because it affects every area of your life simultaneously. Your health, your relationships, your career, your mindset, and yes, even your money. Most people dramatically underestimate the power of small, consistent actions and dramatically overestimate the power of dramatic one-time efforts. They look for the big breakthrough, the life-changing event, the revolutionary moment that will transform everything. But the reality is that extraordinary results come from ordinary actions repeated consistently over time. Here's the mathematics of habit compounding that will change how you think about every small decision. If you get just 1% better every day for 1 year, you'll end up 37 times better than when you started. But if you get 1% worse every day for 1 year, you'll decline to nearly zero. The difference between those two outcomes is not dramatic daily actions. It's tiny daily choices. This is why small habits are so dangerous when they're negative and so powerful when they're positive. That daily soda doesn't seem like a big deal. But over 20 years, it can contribute to obesity, diabetes, and heart disease. That daily 20-minute walk doesn't seem like much, but over 20 years it can add years to your life and life to your years. The reason most people fail at changing their lives is that they focus on outcomes instead of systems. They want to lose 50 pounds instead of becoming the type of person who exercises daily. They want to write a book instead of becoming the type of person who writes every day. They want to build a business instead of becoming the type of person who takes daily action on their goals. But outcomes are lagging indicators. They're the result of your habits, not the cause of them. If you want to change your outcomes, you have to change your habits. And if you want to change your habits, you have to change your identity. Here's the framework for building habits that compound. First, start ridiculously small. Most people fail at habit change because they try to do too much too soon. They decide they're going to work out for an hour every day when they haven't exercised in years. They decide they're going to read for 2 hours every day when they barely read at all. This approach almost always fails because it requires too much willpower. Willpower is like a muscle that gets tired with use. If you rely on willpower to maintain your habits, you'll inevitably fail when life gets stressful or difficult. Instead, start with habits so small that they require almost no willpower. Want to start exercising? Begin with 2 push-ups per day. Want to start reading? Begin with 1 page per day. Want to start meditating? Begin with 1 minute per day. This might seem insignificant, but you're not trying to get results from the habit itself initially. You're trying to establish the identity of someone who does this thing consistently. Once the identity is established, you can gradually increase the intensity. The second principle is habit stacking. This means attaching your new habit to an existing habit. Your brain already has neural pathways for your existing habits, so you can leverage these pathways to build new ones. For example, after I pour my coffee in the morning, I will write in my journal for 2 minutes. After I sit down at my desk, I will review my 3 most important tasks for the day. After I put on my pajamas, I will read 1 page of a book. The key is to be specific about when and where you'll do the habit. Vague intentions like "I'll exercise more" or "I'll eat healthier" almost never work because they don't provide clear triggers for action. The third principle is environmental design. Your environment shapes your behavior more than your motivation does. If you want to eat healthier, don't rely on willpower to avoid junk food. Remove the junk food from your environment. If you want to read more, don't rely on willpower to pick up a book. Put books everywhere and hide your phone. Make good habits obvious and easy and make bad habits invisible and difficult. If you want to drink more water, put water bottles everywhere. If you want to stop checking social media, log out of your accounts and remove the apps from your phone. The fourth principle is immediate rewards. Your brain is wired to repeat behaviors that provide immediate satisfaction. Good habits often have delayed benefits, which makes them hard to maintain. Bad habits often have immediate benefits and delayed costs, which makes them easy to maintain. To overcome this, you need to find ways to make good habits immediately satisfying. After you exercise, don't just think about the long-term health benefits. Focus on how good you feel right now, how proud you are of yourself, how much energy you have. After you eat a healthy meal, savor the taste. Appreciate the colors. Feel good about nourishing your body. You can also use what I call temptation bundling. This means pairing something you want to do with something you need to do. Only listen to your favorite podcast while exercising. Only watch your favorite show while doing household chores. Only go to your favorite coffee shop. When you're working on important projects, the fifth principle is tracking and measurement. What gets measured gets managed. Keep track of your habits in a simple visual way. Use a habit tracker. Mark an X on a calendar. Move a paper clip from one jar to another. The goal is not to create a perfect record. It's to stay aware of your patterns. When you track your habits, you start to see the compound effect in real time. You see how small actions accumulate into significant results. You see how consistency beats intensity. You see how your identity slowly changes as your actions change. The sixth principle is never missing twice. You will break your habits. Sometimes life will get in the way. You'll get sick. You'll travel. You'll have bad days. This is normal and expected. The key is to get back on track as quickly as possible. Missing once is an accident. Missing twice is the start of a new habit. When you miss a day, don't beat yourself up about it. Just make sure you don't miss the next day. The most successful people are not perfect. They're resilient. They get back on track faster than everyone else. The seventh principle is habit gradation. Once you've established the basic habit, you can gradually make it more challenging, but do this slowly and systematically. If you've been doing 2 push-ups per day for a month, you might increase to 3 push-ups per day. If you've been reading 1 page per day for a month, you might increase to 2 pages per day. The key is to increase by the minimum viable amount. You want to maintain the consistency while gradually increasing the intensity. This approach might seem slow, but it's much faster than the cycle of starting strong, burning out, and starting over that most people get trapped in. Remember, habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. Just as money multiplies through compound interest, the effects of your habits multiply through compound improvement. Small changes might not seem to matter much in the moment, but the impact they deliver over the months and years can be enormous. The difference between who you are today and who you'll be in 5 years comes down to the habits you build and the systems you follow. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you want to become. Choose wisely, start small, stay consistent, and let the compound effect work its magic. Chapter 5. The 8020 Rule Applied to Everything. In 1896, an Italian economist named Vilfredo Pareto made an observation that would revolutionize how we understand efficiency and results. He noticed that 80% of the land in Italy was owned by 20% of the population. Curious about this pattern, he began looking for it elsewhere and found it everywhere. 80% of the peas in his garden came from 20% of the pods. 80% of wealth was controlled by 20% of people. 80% of effects came from 20% of causes. This became known as the 80-20 rule or the Pareto principle, and it's one of the most powerful concepts you can apply to every area of your life. Understanding and applying this principle is the difference between working hard and working smart. Between being busy and being productive, between struggling to make progress and achieving extraordinary results with seemingly less effort. The 8020 rule states that roughly 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. But here's what most people miss. This isn't just an interesting observation. It's a road map for transformation. If you can identify the 20% of activities that produce 80% of your results, you can focus exclusively on those activities and eliminate or minimize everything else. This concept applies to every domain of life. But let's start with the most obvious, your career and income. In any job or business, 80% of your results come from 20% of your activities. If you're in sales, 80% of your sales probably come from 20% of your clients. If you're a manager, 80% of your team's productivity probably comes from 20% of your team members. If you're an entrepreneur, 80% of your revenue probably comes from 20% of your products or services. Most people work harder instead of identifying their vital few activities. They try to do everything well instead of doing the most important things exceptionally well. They spread their energy across dozens of tasks instead of concentrating it on the handful of tasks that actually matter. But when you apply the 8020 rule, everything changes. You stop trying to be good at everything and start trying to be exceptional at the few things that matter most. You stop saying yes to every opportunity and start saying yes only to the opportunities that align with your vital few activities. Let's apply this to time management. Track your activities for a week and then analyze which activities produced the most valuable results. You'll probably find that 80% of your progress came from 20% of your activities. Maybe it was 3 focused hours of deep work or 1 important conversation or 1 strategic decision. The rest of your time was probably spent on activities that made you feel busy but didn't actually move you forward. Once you identify your vital few activities, protect them with your life. Schedule them first. Give them your best energy. Eliminate distractions during these activities and say no to anything that interferes with them. Most people do the opposite. They fill their schedule with low-value activities and try to fit their high-value activities into whatever time is left over. The 8020 rule also applies to learning and skill development. In any skill, 80% of your results will come from 20% of the techniques or knowledge. If you're learning a language, 80% of your communication ability will come from 20% of the vocabulary. If you're learning to play an instrument, 80% of the songs you'll want to play will use 20% of the possible chords and techniques. This means you can become highly competent in most skills by focusing intensively on the vital few elements instead of trying to master everything. Most people do the opposite. They try to learn everything about a subject instead of identifying and mastering the core elements that produce most of the results in relationships. The 8020 rule means that 80% of your happiness and fulfillment will come from 20% of your relationships. Instead of trying to maintain dozens of superficial relationships, focus on deepening the few relationships that matter most. Invest your time and energy in the people who energize you, support you, and share your values. This doesn't mean you should ignore everyone else, but it does mean you should be strategic about where you invest your relational energy. Quality relationships require significant time and attention. If you spread that time and attention too thin, all of your relationships will be mediocre. The 8020 rule applies to your health as well. 80% of your health outcomes probably come from 20% of your health behaviors. This might be getting adequate sleep, exercising regularly, eating whole foods, and managing stress. Instead of trying to optimize every aspect of your health simultaneously, focus on the few behaviors that will have the biggest impact. In personal finance, 80% of your wealth building will probably come from 20% of your financial decisions. This might be choosing your career carefully, living below your means, investing consistently in low-cost index funds, and avoiding debt. You don't need to become an expert in dozens of investment strategies. You need to execute the basics excellently in learning and personal development. 80% of your growth will come from 20% of the books you read, courses you take, or experiences you have. Instead of consuming information constantly, focus on deeply implementing the most valuable insights. Most people are addicted to learning new things instead of applying what they already know. The key to applying the 8020 rule is analysis and ruthless prioritization. Regularly audit your activities, relationships, and commitments. Ask yourself which activities produce the most valuable results, which relationships bring the most joy and growth, which commitments align with my most important goals. Then have the courage to eliminate or minimize everything else. This is the hardest part because it requires saying no to good opportunities in order to say yes to great ones. It requires disappointing some people in order to serve others excellently. It requires focusing on fewer things in order to achieve more. Most people resist this because they believe that more is better. They think that doing more things will lead to more results. But the 8020 rule reveals the opposite. Doing fewer things but doing them exceptionally well leads to dramatically better results. The 8020 rule is not about working less. It's about working on the right things. It's not about being lazy. It's about being strategic. It's not about doing the minimum. It's about maximizing your impact. When you truly understand and apply this principle, you'll stop feeling overwhelmed by endless to-do lists and start feeling empowered by your ability to create extraordinary results. You'll stop being busy and start being productive. You'll stop working hard and start working smart. Remember, the goal is not to apply the 80-20 rule perfectly to every area of your life simultaneously. The goal is to identify one or two areas where applying this principle could have the biggest impact. Start there and gradually expand to other areas. The 8020 rule is one of the most liberating concepts you can learn because it gives you permission to focus on what matters most and let go of everything else. In a world that constantly demands more, it's your roadmap to achieving more by doing less. Chapter 6. Your network is your net worth, but not how you think. Everyone's heard the phrase, your network is your net worth. But most people completely misunderstand what this means. They think it's about collecting business cards, adding connections on LinkedIn, or schmoozing at networking events. This shallow understanding of networking is why most people's networks are weak, transactional, and ultimately worthless. Real networking isn't about what you can get from people. It's about what you can give. It's not about knowing a lot of people. It's about being known by the right people for the right reasons. It's not about quantity. It's about quality, depth, and mutual value creation. The most successful people in the world understand that relationships are the ultimate leverage. Every opportunity, every breakthrough, every significant achievement in your life will come through other people. But these people didn't help them because they met at a networking event. They helped because there was genuine relationship, trust, and mutual benefit. Here's what most people get wrong about networking. They try to network when they need something. They reach out to people only when they want a job, need an introduction, or require a favor. This approach is not only ineffective, it's offensive. Nobody wants to hear from someone only when that person needs something. The most powerful networkers do the opposite. They build relationships before they need them. They add value to others before asking for anything in return. They become known as people who help, who connect others, who share opportunities and insights freely. This principle is called relationship banking. Just like financial banking, you need to make deposits before you can make withdrawals. Every time you help someone, share an opportunity, make an introduction, or provide value without expecting anything in return, you're making a deposit in your relationship bank account. The interest on these deposits is extraordinary. When you genuinely help people and build real relationships, those people become invested in your success. They think of you when opportunities arise. They recommend you to others. They become part of your extended team, working to help you achieve your goals even when you're not around. But there's a crucial distinction between networking and relationship building. Networking is often artificial, superficial, and self-serving. Relationship building is authentic, deep, and mutually beneficial. Networking happens at events. Relationship building happens everywhere all the time. The key to building a powerful network is to become genuinely interested in other people. Not just their professional lives, but their challenges, their goals, their interests, their stories. When you genuinely care about someone as a person, not just as a potential connection, you create the foundation for a lasting relationship. Most people make networking all about themselves. They talk about their accomplishments, their needs, their goals. But the most magnetic people do the opposite. They ask questions. They listen actively. They remember details about people's lives and follow up on them. Here's a simple but powerful networking principle. Always give first. When you meet someone new, your first thought shouldn't be, what can this person do for me? It should be, what can I do for this person? Maybe you can make an introduction, share a relevant article, recommend a book, or simply provide a useful insight. This approach works because it's based on the psychological principle of reciprocity. When you do something valuable for someone, they naturally want to return the favor. But more importantly, they see you as someone who adds value rather than someone who takes it. Another crucial principle is to network up, down, and sideways. Most people only try to build relationships with people who are more successful than they are. But this misses huge opportunities. The junior employee today might be the CEO tomorrow. The peer in another department might start the next unicorn company. The vendor who serves your coffee might have connections you never imagined. Every person you meet has a network, experiences, and insights that could be valuable. Treat everyone with respect and genuine interest regardless of their current position or status. Quality trumps quantity in networking. It's better to have 10 strong relationships than 100 weak ones. Strong relationships are built over time through consistent value-add interactions. Weak relationships are formed through brief encounters and forgotten quickly. Focus on building relationships with people you genuinely like and respect. If you don't enjoy someone's company, don't force a relationship for strategic reasons. Life is too short to spend time with people you don't genuinely connect with. And forced relationships rarely produce real value anyway. One of the most powerful networking strategies is to become a connector. Instead of just building relationships for yourself, help other people in your network connect with each other. When you introduce two people who can help each other, you become valuable to both of them. This approach positions you as a hub in your network rather than just a node. People will think of you when they need introductions because they know you're generous with your connections. You become known as someone who makes things happen for others. Another underutilized networking strategy is to create value for your network as a group. This might mean hosting events, starting a mastermind group, creating a newsletter with useful insights, or simply organizing informal get-togethers. When you bring people together and create value for them as a group, you strengthen your relationships with everyone simultaneously. Follow up consistently but not annoyingly. After meeting someone new, send a brief follow-up message within 24-48 hours. Reference something specific from your conversation to show you were listening. If you promise to make an introduction or share a resource, do it quickly. Then stay in touch periodically. This doesn't mean sending monthly newsletters or constantly checking in. It means reaching out when you have something genuinely valuable to share. When you see an opportunity that might interest them or when you remember something important happening in their life, use social media strategically for relationship building. Instead of just posting about yourself, share content that would be valuable to your network. Comment thoughtfully on other people's posts. Celebrate their achievements publicly. Share their content when it's relevant to your audience. Remember that networking is a long-term game. Some of the relationships you build today won't pay dividends for years, but when they do, the returns can be extraordinary. The key is to play the long game, to be patient, and to focus on building genuine relationships rather than trying to extract immediate value. Finally, remember that the best networkers are also the best at maintaining relationships. It's not enough to build relationships. You have to nurture them over time. Check in periodically. Remember important events in people's lives and continue to look for ways to add value. Your network is indeed your net worth. But not just in financial terms. Your network determines the opportunities you hear about, the insights you gain access to, the support you receive during difficult times, and the people who will help you achieve your most important goals. Invest in building real relationships and those relationships will pay dividends for the rest of your life. Chapter 7. Emotional intelligence is your superpower. In a world increasingly dominated by artificial intelligence and automation, there's one type of intelligence that becomes more valuable every day. Emotional intelligence. While machines can process information, analyze data, and even make decisions, they cannot understand emotions, build relationships, or navigate the complex social dynamics that govern human interaction. Emotional intelligence, often abbreviated as EQ, is your ability to understand and manage your own emotions while effectively recognizing and responding to the emotions of others. It's the difference between being book smart and being life smart. It's the skill that determines whether you can turn your knowledge into results, whether you can lead others effectively, and whether you can build the relationships that create opportunities. Research consistently shows that emotional intelligence is a better predictor of success than IQ. People with high emotional intelligence earn more money, have better relationships, experience less stress, and are more effective leaders. Yet, most people have never been taught these skills systematically. Emotional intelligence consists of 4 core components: self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management. Let's break each of these down and explore how to develop them. Self-awareness is the foundation of emotional intelligence. It's your ability to recognize your emotions in real time and understand how they affect your thoughts and behavior. Most people are remarkably unaware of their emotional states. They react automatically to situations without understanding what they're feeling or why. Developing self-awareness starts with paying attention to your internal state throughout the day. Notice when your mood shifts. Notice what triggers strong emotional reactions. Notice how your emotions affect your decision, your energy levels, and your interactions with others. One powerful technique for building self-awareness is the emotional check-in. Several times throughout the day, pause and ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? What triggered this emotion? How is this emotion affecting my thoughts and behavior? This simple practice begins to create space between your emotions and your reactions. Self-management is your ability to control your emotional responses rather than being controlled by them. It's not about suppressing emotions or pretending you don't feel them. It's about choosing how to respond to your emotions in ways that align with your values and goals. The key to self-management is the pause. Between any stimulus and your response, there's a moment of choice. Most people react so quickly that they miss this moment entirely. But when you train yourself to pause, even for just a few seconds, you create the opportunity to choose your response rather than being hijacked by your immediate emotional reaction. Another crucial self-management skill is reframing. Your emotional response to any situation is largely determined by how you interpret that situation. The same event can be devastating or motivating depending on how you frame it. When you learn to consciously reframe situations in more empowering ways, you gain tremendous control over your emotional state. Social awareness is your ability to read the emotions and social dynamics around you. It's about noticing not just what people say, but how they say it, what they don't say, and what their body language reveals about their internal state. Most people are so focused on what they want to say next that they miss the emotional information constantly being broadcast by others. But the most emotionally intelligent people are expert observers. They notice subtle changes in tone, posture, and expression. They pick up on the emotional undercurrents in group dynamics. Developing social awareness requires you to become genuinely curious about other people's emotional experiences. Instead of just waiting for your turn to talk, actively listen for emotional content. Ask yourself, what is this person really feeling? What are they not saying? What do they need right now? Relationship management is your ability to use emotional information to build stronger connections and influence positive outcomes. It's about responding to others in ways that acknowledge their emotional state and move the relationship in a positive direction. This might mean validating someone's feelings before trying to solve their problem. It might mean adjusting your communication style based on someone's emotional state. It might mean knowing when to push and when to give someone space. One of the most powerful relationship management skills is empathy. But real empathy isn't just feeling bad for someone. It's the ability to understand and share someone else's emotional experience, to see the world from their perspective, and to respond in a way that acknowledges their reality. Empathy builds trust faster than almost any other behavior. When people feel understood, they become more open, more collaborative, and more willing to work with you toward common goals. Another crucial skill is emotional contagion management. Emotions are contagious. When you're around angry people, you tend to become angry. When you're around anxious people, you tend to become anxious. But emotionally intelligent people can remain calm in the center of emotional storms and even help others regulate their emotions. The key is to be intentional about the emotional tone you bring to every interaction instead of unconsciously absorbing other people's emotions. Consciously choose the emotional state you want to embody and maintain that state regardless of what's happening around you. Conflict resolution is another area where emotional intelligence creates enormous value. Most conflicts are not really about facts or logic. They're about emotions, feeling unheard, disrespected, or misunderstood. When you can recognize and address the emotional aspects of conflict, you can resolve issues that seem intractable to others. This often means addressing the emotional issue before trying to solve the practical problem. It means validating feelings even when you disagree with positions. It means looking for win-win solutions that allow everyone to maintain their dignity. Emotional intelligence also dramatically improves your ability to influence and persuade others. People make decisions emotionally and then rationalize them logically. If you want to influence someone's decision, you need to connect with them emotionally. Not just present logical arguments. This doesn't mean manipulating people's emotions. It means understanding what people care about, what they fear, what they hope for, and then communicating in ways that resonate with those deeper motivations. Perhaps most importantly, emotional intelligence allows you to build the deep, meaningful relationships that make life rich and fulfilling. When you can understand and connect with others on an emotional level, you create bonds that go far beyond surface-level interactions. These relationships become the foundation for everything else in your life: your career opportunities, your personal happiness, your ability to create positive change in the world. The beautiful thing about emotional intelligence is that it can be developed at any age. Unlike IQ, which is relatively fixed, EQ can be improved through awareness, practice, and feedback. Every interaction you have is an opportunity to practice these skills. Start by focusing on self-awareness. Pay attention to your emotions throughout the day. Notice your triggers, your patterns, your automatic reactions. Then work on self-management. Practice pausing before reacting. Practice reframing situations in more empowering ways as you develop these internal skills. Begin paying more attention to others. Practice reading emotional cues. Practice empathy. Practice responding to others' emotional needs as well as their logical requests. Remember, in a world where technical skills become obsolete quickly and artificial intelligence handles more routine tasks, emotional intelligence becomes your sustainable competitive advantage. It's the skill that will determine your success in the age of automation. Chapter 8. Think in decades, not days. One of the most profound differences between highly successful people and everyone else is their relationship with time. Most people think in terms of days, weeks, or at best months. They focus on immediate problems, short-term goals, and instant gratification. But the most successful people think in decades. They make decisions based on where they want to be 10, 20, or 30 years from now. This shift in time perspective is not just about planning for the future. It's about fundamentally changing how you approach every decision in your life. When you extend your time horizon, you gain access to strategies and opportunities that are invisible to people trapped in short-term thinking. Short-term thinking forces you to compete on the same battlefield as everyone else. If you're only thinking about this month or this quarter, you have to fight for the same opportunities, the same customers, the same resources as everyone else who's thinking short-term. But when you think in decades, you can play a completely different game. Long-term thinking allows you to make investments that don't pay off immediately, but compound dramatically over time. You can plant seeds today that will grow into massive trees years from now. You can start building assets, skills, and relationships that will create enormous value in the future, even if they don't produce immediate results. This principle applies to every area of your life. In your career, short-term thinking means focusing on your next paycheck or promotion. Long-term thinking means building skills, reputation, and relationships that will compound over decades in your finances. Short-term thinking means spending money on immediate pleasures. Long-term thinking means investing money in assets that will grow exponentially over time in your health. Short-term thinking means focusing on how you feel today. Long-term thinking means building habits and making choices that will keep you healthy and energetic for decades. In your relationships, short-term thinking means avoiding difficult conversations and prioritizing immediate harmony. Long-term thinking means investing in deep, meaningful connections that will enrich your life for years to come. The challenge is that our brains are wired for short-term thinking. This made sense when humans lived in dangerous environments where immediate survival was the primary concern. But in today's world, the biggest threats to your success are not immediate dangers. They're long-term consequences of short-term decisions. The obesity epidemic is not caused by people making one bad food choice. It's caused by people making slightly bad food choices consistently over years. The retirement crisis is not caused by people making one bad financial decision. It's caused by people failing to invest consistently over decades. Career stagnation is not caused by one missed opportunity. It's caused by failing to continuously develop skills and relationships over time. To develop long-term thinking, you need to start with a clear vision of your future self. Most people have never seriously considered what they want their life to look like in 20 years. They drift through life responding to immediate circumstances rather than working toward a compelling future. Spend time creating a detailed vision of your ideal life 2 decades from now. What kind of person do you want to be? What kind of relationships do you want to have? What kind of impact do you want to make? What kind of lifestyle do you want to live? The more specific and compelling your vision, the easier it becomes to make long-term decisions. Once you have a clear vision, work backwards to identify the key milestones and decisions that will determine whether you achieve that vision. What skills do you need to develop? What relationships do you need to build? What investments do you need to make? What habits do you need to establish? Then begin making decisions based on this long-term vision rather than on immediate circumstances. When faced with a choice, ask yourself, which option moves me closer to my 20-year vision? Which option will I be grateful for in 10 years? Which option aligns with the person I want to become? This doesn't mean ignoring short-term needs or never enjoying immediate pleasures. It means being strategic about when you prioritize short-term benefits versus long-term benefits. It means understanding the true cost of short-term decisions and the true value of long-term investments. One of the most powerful aspects of long-term thinking is that it changes your relationship with failure and setbacks. When you're thinking short-term, every failure feels catastrophic because it threatens your immediate goals. But when you're thinking long-term, failures become data points in a larger experiment. They become learning opportunities that inform future decisions. Long-term thinkers understand that success is not a straight line. There will be setbacks, failures, and periods of slow progress. But they also understand that if you're moving in the right direction consistently over time, these short-term setbacks become insignificant in the context of long-term achievement. This perspective also allows you to take bigger risks because you have a longer time horizon to recover from mistakes. Short-term thinkers avoid risk because they can't afford to fail. Long-term thinkers can afford to take calculated risks because they have time to try again if something doesn't work out. Long-term thinking also gives you patience, which is perhaps the most undervalued skill in today's world. When you know where you're going and you trust the process, you don't need immediate results to stay motivated. You can persist through periods of slow progress because you understand that meaningful achievement takes time. Another benefit of long-term thinking is that it allows you to spot trends and opportunities that others miss. When everyone else is focused on current events and immediate problems, you can identify the underlying forces that will shape the future. This gives you the opportunity to position yourself advantageously before trends become obvious to everyone else. The most successful investors, entrepreneurs, and leaders are not necessarily smarter than everyone else. But they consistently think longer term than their competition. While others are reacting to quarterly results, they're building for decades. While others are chasing short-term trends, they're investing in fundamental shifts that will play out over years. To develop this skill, regularly zoom out from your daily concerns and consider the bigger picture. Ask yourself, what are the major trends shaping my industry? What skills will be most valuable in 10 years? What problems are emerging that will need solutions? What opportunities are developing that aren't obvious yet? Also study long-term thinkers and learn from their approaches. Read biographies of successful people and pay attention to how they thought about time. Notice how they made sacrifices in the short term to create advantages in the long term. Notice how they persisted through difficult periods because they had confidence in their long-term vision. Remember, Thinking in decades doesn't mean you ignore the present or stop enjoying life today. It means making sure that your present actions are aligned with your future vision. It means being intentional about trading short-term comfort for long-term fulfillment. In a world obsessed with immediate results, long-term thinking is your secret weapon. While everyone else is fighting over short-term opportunities, you're building the assets, skills, and relationships that will create sustainable success for decades to come. Chapter 9. Failure is data, not defeat. Society has taught us to fear failure, to avoid it at all costs, to see it as evidence of inadequacy or weakness. This conditioning is one of the most destructive beliefs you can hold because it prevents you from taking the risks necessary for growth and achievement. The most successful people in history have completely reframed their relationship with failure. They don't see failure as defeat. They see it as data. Every failure contains valuable information about what doesn't work, what needs to be adjusted, and what to try next. When you shift from seeing failure as a verdict on your worth to seeing it as feedback on your approach, everything changes. You become willing to experiment, to take risks, to push boundaries. You become anti-fragile, getting stronger from challenges rather than being weakened by them. The fear of failure is often more limiting than failure itself. This fear keeps people trapped in their comfort zones, pursuing only safe, guaranteed outcomes. But guaranteed outcomes are usually mediocre outcomes. If success is guaranteed, it means the goal wasn't ambitious enough to begin with. Think about how children learn to walk. They fall down thousands of times, but they don't interpret this as evidence that they're not meant to walk. They don't develop a fear of walking or decide they're walking failures. They simply get up and try again, each fall providing data about balance, coordination, and movement. As adults, we lose this natural resilience and start interpreting failures as permanent verdicts rather than temporary feedback. We start saying things like, "I'm not good at this," instead of "I haven't figured this out yet." We start avoiding challenges, instead of embracing them as opportunities to learn. The most successful entrepreneurs fail more than unsuccessful ones, not because they're worse at business, but because they attempt more experiments. They understand that failure is the price of innovation, the cost of breakthrough, the tuition for mastery. Jeff Bezos, founder of Amazon, puts it perfectly. If you're not failing, you're not innovating enough. Amazon has had spectacular failures. The Fire Phone, Amazon Local, Amazon Destinations. But these failures provided data that informed successful innovations like Alexa, AWS, and Prime Video. The key is to fail fast. Fail cheap and fail forward. Fail fast means getting feedback quickly rather than investing years in an approach that doesn't work. Fail cheap means limiting the downside risk of any experiment so that failure doesn't destroy you. Fail forward means extracting maximum learning from every failure so that each failure makes future success more likely. This approach requires you to separate your identity from your results. Your worth as a person is not determined by whether a particular project succeeds or fails. Your intelligence is not measured by whether your first attempt works perfectly. Your potential is not limited by your past failures. Instead of asking "Why did I fail?" start asking "What did I learn?" Instead of saying "I'm not good at this," start saying "I'm not good at this yet." Instead of avoiding challenges because you might fail, start seeking challenges because you will learn. The most powerful reframe is to see failure as proof that you're pushing yourself beyond your current capabilities. If you're not failing occasionally, it means you're only attempting things you already know how to do. You're not growing, you're not learning, you're not expanding your capabilities. Failure is also a filter that separates those who are truly committed from those who are just interested. When things get difficult, when setbacks occur, when failure happens, most people quit. But the people who understand that failure is part of the process persist through difficulties and eventually break through to success. This is why many successful people are grateful for their early failures. Those failures taught them crucial lessons, built their resilience, and prepared them for bigger challenges. They understand that without those failures, they wouldn't have developed the skills and mindset necessary for later success. To change your relationship with failure, start by redefining what failure means. Instead of seeing failure as not achieving a desired outcome, see failure as not learning from an outcome. The real failure is not the missed shot. It's not analyzing why you missed so you can improve your aim. Create what I call failure reports. Instead of just moving on when something doesn't work, when a project fails, a relationship ends, or a goal isn't achieved, take time to analyze what happened, what worked, what didn't work, what would you do differently, what did you learn about yourself, about others, about the process. These failure reports become invaluable resources for future decisions. They help you spot patterns, avoid repeated mistakes, and continuously improve your strategies. Most people waste their failures by not extracting the lessons they contain. Also, celebrate intelligent failures. When you take a calculated risk that doesn't work out, but you learned valuable lessons and followed a sound decision-making process, that's worth celebrating. You're developing the courage and skill to take the risks necessary for significant achievement. Share your failures and the lessons you learned from them. This serves two purposes. It helps normalize failure for others and it forces you to articulate the insights you gained. When you can teach others from your failures, you transform those failures into valuable assets. Distinguish between good failures and bad failures. Good failures are the result of taking calculated risks, trying new approaches, or pushing beyond your comfort zone. Bad failures are the result of negligence, poor preparation, or repeating the same mistakes without learning. Build failure tolerance into your plans. Instead of creating plans that assume everything will go perfectly, create plans that assume setbacks and failures will occur. Build in buffers, backup plans, and learning loops that allow you to adapt when things don't go as expected. Remember that failure is temporary, but the lessons you learn from failure are permanent. The specific setback you're experiencing today will eventually be forgotten, but the wisdom, resilience, and capability you develop from working through that setback will serve you for the rest of your life. Finally, understand that your biggest failures often precede your biggest breakthroughs. The darkest moment is often just before dawn. Many people quit right before they would have succeeded because they interpret failure as a sign to stop rather than a sign to adjust their approach. When you truly internalize that failure is data, not defeat, you become unstoppable. You're willing to try things others won't try, to persist where others quit, to learn where others blame. You develop what psychologists call a growth mindset, the belief that abilities can be developed through dedication and hard work. This belief transforms challenges from threats into opportunities, failures from verdicts into feedback, and setbacks from endings into beginnings. It's the foundation for lifelong learning, continuous improvement, and ultimately extraordinary achievement. Chapter 10. Systems beat goals every time. Goals are overrated. There, I said it. While everyone obsesses over setting the perfect goals, the most successful people focus on something entirely different. Systems. They understand that you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. A goal is a result you want to achieve. A system is a process that leads to those results. Goals are about what you want to accomplish. Systems are about what you want to become. Goals are destination-focused. Systems are journey-focused. The problem with goals is that they create what I call the arrival fallacy. You tell yourself that you'll be happy, fulfilled, or successful when you reach your goal. But what happens after you achieve a goal? You either feel empty because the achievement wasn't as satisfying as you expected, or you immediately set a new goal and remain perpetually unsatisfied. Systems solve this problem because they're focused on the process rather than the outcome. When you fall in love with the process, you can be fulfilled and successful every day, regardless of whether you've achieved your ultimate goal yet. Let's use weight loss as an example. A goal-focused approach says, I want to lose 30 pounds. A systems-focused approach says I want to become the type of person who exercises daily and eats nutritious food. The goal-focused person is miserable until they lose the weight and then often gains it back because they haven't changed their underlying systems. The systems-focused person enjoys the process and maintains their results because they've changed their identity and habits. Goals also create motivation problems. You're excited when you set them, but motivation fades over time, especially when progress is slow or obstacles arise. Systems, on the other hand, become automatic. When you have good systems, you don't need motivation to maintain them. They become part of who you are. Another problem with goals is that they're often binary. You either achieve them or you don't. This creates unnecessary pressure and stress. Systems are progressive. Every day you follow your system, you're successful regardless of whether you've achieved your ultimate goal. Goals also tend to restrict happiness to a future moment. I'll be successful when I reach this goal. But systems allow you to be successful right now. Every time you follow your system, you're acting in alignment with your values and moving in the right direction. Here's how to build systems that compound over time. First, focus on identity-based habits rather than outcome-based habits. Instead of saying I want to run a marathon, say I want to become a runner. Instead of saying I want to write a book, say I want to become a writer. When you focus on identity, the habits naturally follow. The key question becomes, what would someone with my desired identity do in this situation? A runner runs regularly even when they don't feel like it. A writer writes regularly even when inspiration doesn't strike. A healthy person makes nutritious food choices even when junk food is available. Second, start with minimum viable habits. Most people try to design perfect systems that require massive changes in behavior. This approach almost always fails because it requires too much willpower. Instead, design systems that are so easy you can't fail to follow them. If you want to become a reader, start with 1 page per day. If you want to become a meditator, start with 1 minute per day. If you want to become a writer, start with 1 sentence per day. These tiny habits seem insignificant, but they establish the identity and create momentum for larger changes. Third, design your environment to support your systems. Your environment shapes your behavior more than your willpower does. If you want to eat healthier, remove junk food from your house. If you want to read more, put books everywhere and hide your phone. If you want to exercise regularly, lay out your workout clothes the night before. Make good behaviors obvious and easy and make bad behaviors invisible and difficult. Environmental design is the secret weapon of successful systems. Fourth, create feedback loops that help you improve your systems over time. Track your consistency, not just your results. Use a habit tracker. Mark an X on a calendar or move a paper clip from one jar to another every time you follow your system. The goal is not to create a perfect record, but to stay aware of your patterns and make small adjustments as needed. When you track your systems, you start to see what works, what doesn't work, and what needs to be modified. Fifth, build systems that stack and compound. Look for ways to connect different systems so they reinforce each other. For example, you might combine your exercise system with your learning system by listening to audiobooks while working out. You might combine your social system with your health system by joining a running club. When systems support each other, they become more sustainable and create multiplicative rather than additive benefits. Sixth, design systems that you actually enjoy. If you hate your system, you won't stick with it long term. Find ways to make your systems fun, social, or intrinsically rewarding. The best system is one that you look forward to following rather than one you have to force yourself to maintain. Seventh, regularly review and refine your systems. What got you here won't get you there. As you grow and change, your systems need to evolve as well. Schedule regular reviews to assess what's working, what's not working, and what needs to be adjusted. Eighth, focus on systems that create leverage. Not all systems are created equal. Some systems have linear returns. You put in 1 unit of effort and get 1 unit of result. Others have exponential returns. You put in 1 unit of effort and get multiple units of result over time. Systems that develop skills, build relationships, create assets, or improve your health tend to have exponential returns. Systems that just maintain the status quo tend to have linear returns. Prioritize systems that compound over time. Remember, the purpose of setting goals is not to achieve them. The purpose is to become the type of person who can achieve them. Goals point you in the right direction, but systems get you there. When you focus on systems instead of goals, you stop living in the future and start succeeding in the present. You stop being motivated by external validation and start being driven by internal satisfaction. You stop chasing outcomes and start enjoying the process. The most successful people in every field have superior systems, not superior goals. They've designed processes that reliably produce the results they want. They've become the type of people who naturally do what it takes to succeed. Your goals might give you direction, but your systems will determine your destination. Choose your systems wisely because they will choose your future. Chapter 11. Manage your energy, not just your time. Everyone talks about time management, but the most successful people understand something deeper. Time is finite, but energy is renewable. You can't create more hours in a day, but you can dramatically increase your energy levels and the quality of energy you bring to each hour. Two people can have the exact same amount of time, but if one person has high energy and the other has low energy, their results will be completely different. The high-energy person will accomplish more in 4 focused hours than the low-energy person will accomplish in 12 scattered hours. Energy management is about understanding your natural rhythms and designing your life around them instead of fighting against them. Most people work against their biology instead of with it. Then wonder why they feel exhausted and unproductive. Your energy operates on multiple levels: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Physical energy is your body's capacity for sustained activity. Mental energy is your brain's ability to focus and process information. Emotional energy is your capacity to remain positive and resilient. Spiritual energy is your connection to purpose and meaning. Most people only pay attention to physical energy, and even then they manage it poorly. They drink caffeine to mask fatigue instead of addressing the root causes. They push through exhaustion instead of recovering strategically. They treat their bodies like machines that should run constantly instead of biological systems that need cycles of stress and recovery. To manage your physical energy, start by understanding your chronotype. Are you naturally a morning person or an evening person? When do you feel most alert and focused? When do you naturally want to sleep and wake up? Once you understand your natural rhythms, you can schedule your most important work during your peak energy periods. Most people do the opposite. They schedule meetings and low-value activities during their peak hours and try to do important work when their energy is low. This is backwards. Protect your peak energy hours like your life depends on it, because your success does depend on it. Mental energy is even more important than physical energy. In today's knowledge economy, your brain consumes about 20% of your total energy, and mental fatigue can be more debilitating than physical fatigue. Yet, most people have never learned to manage their mental energy systematically. Mental energy is depleted by multitasking, and prolonged concentration. It's restored by rest, novelty, and activities that don't require focused attention. This is why successful people automate routine decisions, batch similar tasks together, and take regular breaks from intense mental work. The key to mental energy management is understanding that willpower and focus are finite resources that get depleted throughout the day. Every decision you make, no matter how small, drains your mental battery. This is why Steve Jobs wore the same outfit every day, and Mark Zuckerberg has a closet full of identical t-shirts. They eliminated trivial decisions to preserve mental energy for important ones. Emotional energy is perhaps the most overlooked aspect of energy management. Your emotional state determines the quality of your thinking, the effectiveness of your communication, and your resilience in the face of challenges. When your emotional energy is high, everything feels possible. When it's low, even simple tasks feel overwhelming. Emotional energy is drained by conflict, negativity, and toxic relationships. It's restored by positive interactions, accomplishment, and activities that align with your values. This is why the people you spend time with have such a profound impact on your energy levels and overall success. Spiritual energy comes from feeling connected to something larger than yourself. It's the energy that comes from knowing your work matters, that your life has meaning, that you're contributing to something worthwhile. When spiritual energy is high, you can sustain effort through difficulties that would normally break you. Spiritual energy is often the difference between people who burn out and people who can maintain peak performance for decades. It's what allows teachers to work long hours for low pay. What drives entrepreneurs through years of uncertainty? What keeps athletes training when their bodies want to quit? To optimize your energy management, start by conducting an energy audit. For 1 week, track your energy levels throughout the day on a scale of 1 to 10. Note what activities, people, and situations increase your energy and what drains it. Look for patterns in when you feel most and least energetic. Then redesign your schedule around your energy patterns instead of arbitrary time slots. Do your most important work when your energy is highest. Schedule meetings and administrative tasks when your energy is moderate. Use low energy periods for rest, reflection, or routine activities. Create energy rituals that help you recover and recharge. This might be a morning routine that energizes you for the day, a midday break that restores your focus, or an evening routine that helps you recover from the day's demands. The key is to be intentional about recovery instead of just collapsing when you're exhausted. Learn to say no to energy vampires. These are activities, commitments, or people that drain your energy without providing commensurate value. Just as you wouldn't let someone steal your money, don't let people steal your energy through drama, negativity, or unreasonable demands. Invest in activities that give you energy rather than drain it. For some people, this might be exercise, creative pursuits, or time in nature. For others, it might be social activities, learning new skills, or working on meaningful projects. The key is to identify what genuinely energizes you and make time for these activities regularly. Understand that managing energy is not about working less. It's about working more effectively. When you have high energy, you can accomplish more in less time with better results. When you have low energy, even simple tasks take forever and the quality suffers. Remember that energy is contagious. When you manage your energy well, you not only perform better yourself, but you also positively influence the energy of everyone around you. High-energy people create high-energy environments that lift everyone's performance. The goal is not to maintain maximum energy all the time, which is impossible and unhealthy. The goal is to have high energy when it matters most and to recover effectively when you need to. This requires understanding your natural rhythms, designing your life around them, and being intentional about how you spend and recover your energy. Time management is important, but energy management is transformational. When you learn to manage your energy effectively, you don't just get more done, you enjoy the process more and achieve better results with less stress. Chapter 12. Master the art of clear communication. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of your communication. Every relationship you have, every opportunity you receive, every goal you achieve depends on your ability to communicate clearly and persuasively. Yet, most people have never systematically developed this crucial skill. Clear communication is not about using big words or complex sentences. It's about expressing your thoughts in a way that others can easily understand. Remember and act upon. It's about saying what you mean and meaning what you say. It's about being so clear in your communication that misunderstandings become almost impossible. The biggest communication mistake most people make is assuming others understand what they mean without being explicit. They speak in vague generalities, use ambiguous language, and expect others to read between the lines. This creates confusion, frustration, and endless back and forth clarification. Master communicators do the opposite. They are ruthlessly clear in their language. They define terms, provide examples, and eliminate ambiguity. They understand that the burden of clarity is on the speaker, not the listener. The foundation of clear communication is clear thinking. You cannot communicate clearly if you're not thinking clearly. Before you speak or write, ask yourself, what exactly am I trying to communicate? What do I want the other person to understand, feel, or do as a result of this communication? Most people start talking before they know what they want to say. They figure it out as they go, which leads to rambling, confusion, and lost opportunities. Take time to organize your thoughts before you communicate them. Use the pyramid principle for structuring your communication. Start with your main point, then provide supporting details. Most people do the opposite. They start with background information and eventually get to their point, if they ever do. But people's attention spans are short, so you need to lead with your conclusion. Be specific rather than general. Instead of saying we need to improve our performance, say we need to increase our sales by 15% in the next quarter. Instead of saying I'll get back to you soon, say I'll email you by Friday afternoon with my decision. Specificity eliminates confusion and creates accountability. Choose simple words over complex ones. The goal is not to impress people with your vocabulary. It's to communicate your ideas effectively. Complex language often obscures meaning rather than clarifying it. If you can say something simply, say it simply. Eliminate filler words and phrases that add no value. Words like basically, literally, and you know, make you sound uncertain and unprofessional. Practice speaking without these crutches and your communication will become much more powerful. Listen more than you speak. Communication is not just about expressing your ideas. It's about understanding others' ideas as well. Most people are so focused on what they want to say next that they don't really listen to what others are saying. This leads to conversations where people talk past each other rather than with each other. Practice active listening by giving the speaker your full attention, asking clarifying questions and summarizing what you heard to ensure understanding. When people feel heard and understood, they're much more likely to listen to what you have to say. Match your communication style to your audience. Different people process information differently. Some people prefer data and logic. Others respond to emotion and stories. Some people want all the details. Others just want the bottom line. The most effective communicators adapt their style based on who they're speaking with. Use stories and examples to make abstract concepts concrete. The human brain is wired to remember stories much better than facts or figures. When you want to communicate an important point, illustrate it with a relevant story or example that makes the concept tangible and memorable. Be confident in your delivery. How you say something is often more important than what you say. Speak with conviction, maintain eye contact, and use appropriate body language. If you don't seem confident in your message, others won't be confident in it either. Ask for feedback to ensure your message was received correctly. Don't assume that just because you said something clearly, it was understood correctly. Ask questions like, "What questions do you have?" or "How does this sound to you?" to verify understanding. Learn to disagree without being disagreeable. You will inevitably need to communicate difficult messages, provide negative feedback, or disagree with others. The key is to focus on the issue, not the person. Be direct but respectful, specific but not personal. Master the art of written communication as well. In today's digital world, much of your communication happens through email, text, and social media. Apply the same principles of clarity and conciseness to your written communication. Read your messages before sending them to ensure they're clear and professional. Understand the power of timing in communication. The same message can be received completely differently depending on when it's delivered. Consider the other person's emotional state, stress level, and current circumstances before delivering important messages. Practice difficult conversations before having them. If you need to have a challenging conversation, rehearse it first. Think through what you want to say, how the other person might respond, and how you'll handle different scenarios. This preparation will help you stay calm and focused during the actual conversation. Finally, remember that communication is a skill that can be developed through practice. Look for opportunities to practice public speaking. Join groups where you can practice conversation skills and ask for feedback on your communication style. The more you practice, the more natural and effective your communication will become. Clear communication is one of the highest leverage skills you can develop. It affects every aspect of your life and creates opportunities that wouldn't exist otherwise. When you can communicate clearly and persuasively, you can influence outcomes, build stronger relationships, and achieve your goals more effectively. Chapter 13. Money is a tool, not a goal. Money is one of the most misunderstood aspects of life. Most people either obsess over money or try to pretend it doesn't matter. Both approaches are wrong. Money is neither the root of all evil nor the key to all happiness. Money is simply a tool. And like any tool, its value depends on how you use it. The key to a healthy relationship with money is understanding what money actually is. Stored value and concentrated freedom. Money represents the ability to make choices, to solve problems, to create opportunities, and to have security. But money itself is not the goal. What money enables is the goal. Most people have been conditioned to think about money emotionally rather than strategically. They make financial decisions based on fear, greed, status, or impulse rather than logic and long-term thinking. This emotional approach to money creates stress, limits opportunities, and prevents wealth building. The first step to mastering money is to clarify your relationship with it. What does money mean to you? What emotions do you associate with money? What beliefs about money did you inherit from your family or culture? Many of these beliefs were formed in childhood and may not serve you as an adult. Common limiting beliefs about money include money is the root of all evil. Rich people are greedy. I don't deserve wealth. Money changes people, or there's not enough money to go around. These beliefs create subconscious resistance to building wealth and limit your financial potential. Understand that money is abundant, not scarce. There is no fixed amount of money in the world. Money is created when value is created. When you solve problems, serve others, or create something valuable, you generate money. The more value you create, the more money you can earn. This shifts your focus from competing for a limited pie to growing the pie. Instead of trying to take money from others, focus on creating value for others. This approach is more ethical, more sustainable, and more profitable in the long run. The fundamental principle of wealth building is simple. Spend less than you earn and invest the difference. Yet, most people violate this principle by living paycheck to paycheck, regardless of their income level. Lifestyle inflation is the enemy of wealth building. Every time your income increases, resist the urge to immediately increase your spending. Instead, maintain your current lifestyle and invest the additional income. This discipline allows your wealth to grow exponentially rather than linearly. Automate your wealth building to remove emotion from the process. Set up automatic transfers to savings and investment accounts so that money is invested before you have a chance to spend it. Pay yourself first, then live on what's left. Most people do the opposite. They spend first and save what's left, which is usually nothing. Understand the difference between assets and liabilities. Assets put money in your pocket. Liabilities take money out of your pocket. Your home, despite what you've been told, is likely a liability because it requires monthly payments for mortgage, taxes, insurance, and maintenance. A rental property that generates positive cash flow is an asset. Focus on building assets that generate passive income. This might be investments in stocks, bonds, real estate, or businesses. The goal is to eventually have enough passive income to cover your expenses, giving you the freedom to choose how you spend your time rather than being forced to work for money. Invest in yourself first. The best investment you can make is in developing your skills, knowledge, and capabilities. These investments have unlimited upside potential and can never be taken away from you. A skill that increases your earning potential by 10% is worth more than most financial investments. Understand compound interest and use it to your advantage. Einstein allegedly called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. Start investing early, even if it's a small amount, because time is the most powerful factor in compound growth. A 25-year-old who invests $100 per month will have more money at retirement than a 35-year-old who invests $200 per month. Don't try to get rich quick. Every get-rich-quick scheme is actually a get-poor-quick scheme. Building wealth takes time, patience, and discipline. There are no shortcuts, but there are proven strategies that work if you follow them consistently. Live below your means. But don't be cheap. There's a difference between being frugal and being cheap. Frugal means being thoughtful about spending and getting good value for your money. Cheap means prioritizing low cost over everything else, often resulting in poor quality or false economy. Invest in experiences and relationships rather than just stuff. Research shows that experiences provide more lasting happiness than material possessions. Experiences become part of who you are, while possessions just become part of what you own. Understand that your earning potential is not fixed. You're not stuck at your current income level. You can develop new skills, change careers, start businesses, or create additional income streams. Your income is limited only by the value you create for others. Learn basic financial literacy. Understand concepts like compound interest, inflation, risk and return, diversification, and tax efficiency. You don't need to become a financial expert, but you need to understand enough to make informed decisions about your money. Use money as a force multiplier for your values and goals. Money amplifies who you are. If you're generous, money allows you to be more generous. If you value experiences, money allows you to have richer experiences. If you want to make a difference, money gives you more power to create change. Don't let money stress consume your life. Yes, money is important, but it's not everything. Don't sacrifice your health, relationships, or integrity for money. The goal is to have enough money to support the life you want to live, not to accumulate money for its own sake. Remember that money is a tool for creating the life you want, not the life itself. The purpose of building wealth is to buy freedom, security, and options. Use money to support your values, achieve your goals, and make a positive impact on the world. Chapter 14. Your health is your wealth. Without your health, nothing else matters. You can have all the money in the world, the best relationships, and the most successful career, but if you don't have your health, you can't truly enjoy any of it. Yet, most people treat their health as an afterthought, something to worry about when problems arise rather than something to protect and optimize proactively. Health is not just the absence of disease. True health is having the energy, vitality, and physical capability to live life fully. It's waking up feeling refreshed, having sustained energy throughout the day, and feeling confident in your body's ability to meet life's demands. The tragedy is that most health problems are preventable. The leading causes of death in developed countries are heart disease, cancer, stroke, and diabetes. All of which are largely lifestyle related. This means you have enormous control over your health outcomes, but only if you take responsibility for them. The foundation of health is not complicated, but it requires consistency. There are 4 pillars of health that determine the vast majority of your health outcomes: nutrition, exercise, sleep, and stress management. Master these 4 areas and you'll prevent most health problems and optimize your physical and mental performance. Let's start with nutrition. The most important nutritional principle is simple. Eat real food. Most of the food in supermarkets today is not actually food. It's food. Like products manufactured in factories, these processed foods are designed to be addictive and profitable, not healthy. Real food is what your great-grandmother would recognize as food. Vegetables, fruits, meat, fish, nuts, seeds, and whole grains. These foods provide the nutrients your body needs to function optimally and don't contain the chemicals, preservatives, and artificial ingredients that cause inflammation and disease. Focus on eating foods with 1 ingredient. An apple has 1 ingredient, apple. Salmon has 1 ingredient, salmon. When you start reading ingredient lists with dozens of unpronounceable chemicals, you're not eating food anymore. The 8020 rule applies to nutrition as well. If you eat healthy foods 80% of the time, you can be flexible the other 20% without compromising your health. Perfectionism in nutrition often leads to restriction, guilt, and eventual rebellion. Consistency beats perfection. Exercise is medicine. Regular physical activity prevents disease, improves mood, increases energy, and extends lifespan. The human body was designed to move. And when it doesn't move regularly, it begins to break down. You don't need to become a fitness fanatic or spend hours in the gym every day. The minimum effective dose of exercise is about 150 minutes of moderate activity per week, which breaks down to about 20 minutes per day. This could be walking, swimming, cycling, or any activity that elevates your heart rate. Strength training is equally important as cardiovascular exercise. After age 30, you lose muscle mass every year, unless you actively work to maintain it. Muscle mass is crucial for metabolism, bone health, and functional movement as you age. Find forms of exercise you actually enjoy. The best exercise is the one you'll actually do consistently. If you hate running, don't run. If you love dancing, dance. If you enjoy hiking, hike. Make exercise fun rather than a chore. Sleep is not optional. It's not a luxury or a sign of laziness. Sleep is when your body repairs itself. Your brain consolidates memories and your immune system strengthens. Chronic sleep deprivation is linked to every major disease and dramatically reduces your quality of life. Most adults need 79 hours of quality sleep per night. Quality is as important as quantity. This means sleeping in a cool, dark, quiet environment and maintaining consistent sleep and wake times. Even on weekends, Create a bedtime routine that signals to your body that it's time to sleep. This might include dimming lights, avoiding screens, reading, or practicing relaxation techniques. Treat sleep with the same priority you give to important meetings or deadlines. Stress management is the often overlooked pillar of health. Chronic stress is a silent killer that contributes to heart disease, depression, anxiety, digestive problems, and immune dysfunction. You can eat perfectly and exercise regularly. But if you're chronically stressed, your health will still suffer. Learn to distinguish between acute stress, which is normal and healthy, and chronic stress, which is destructive. Acute stress is your body's natural response to challenges and helps you perform at your best. Chronic stress is when your stress response system is constantly activated, which damages your body over time. Develop healthy stress management techniques that work for you. This might include meditation, deep breathing, yoga, journaling, time in nature, or creative activities. The key is to have multiple tools in your toolkit and to use them regularly, not just when you're overwhelmed. Prevention is always better than treatment. Regular checkups, screenings, and preventive care can catch problems early when they're easier and less expensive to treat. Don't wait until you feel sick to see a health care provider. Invest in your health like you invest in your retirement. Small, consistent investments in healthy behaviors compound over time into enormous returns in quality of life and longevity. The money you spend on healthy food, gym memberships, and preventive care is an investment that pays dividends for decades. Understand that health is holistic. Your physical health affects your mental health, which affects your emotional health, which affects your relationships and career performance. When you optimize your health, you optimize every other area of your life. Don't fall for health fads or miracle cures. The fundamentals of health haven't changed. Eat real food, move your body, get adequate sleep, and manage stress. These basics aren't exciting or complicated, but they work. Listen to your body. You know your body better than anyone else. Pay attention to how different foods, activities, and lifestyle choices make you feel. Use this feedback to make adjustments and optimize your health practices. Finally, remember that health is a journey, not a destination. You don't achieve perfect health and then stop working on it. Your health needs change as you age and you need to adapt your practices accordingly. The goal is not perfection. It's consistent progress and the energy to live life fully. Your health is the foundation upon which everything else in your life is built. Take care of it and it will take care of you. Neglect it and it will limit everything else you want to accomplish. The choice is yours and the time to choose is now. Chapter 15. Consistency beats intensity every time. The world is obsessed with intensity. We celebrate the person who works 16-hour days. The athlete who trains until they collapse. The entrepreneur who sacrifices everything for their business. But this obsession with intensity misses the real secret of extraordinary achievement. Consistency. Consistency beats intensity every single time. The person who works out for 30 minutes every day will be in better shape than the person who works out for 3 hours once a week. The person who writes 500 words every day will finish more books than the person who writes 50 words once a month. The person who invests a small amount every month will build more wealth than the person who makes large investments sporadically. Intensity gets attention, but consistency gets results. Intensity is exciting and dramatic, but it's not sustainable. Consistency is boring and unremarkable, but it's what creates lasting change and extraordinary outcomes. The reason consistency is so powerful is because of the compound effect. Small actions repeated consistently over time create exponential results. This is the same principle that makes compound interest so powerful in investing, and it applies to every area of life. Most people underestimate the power of small consistent actions and overestimate the power of dramatic one-time efforts. They look for the big breakthrough, the life-changing moment, the revolutionary approach that will transform everything overnight. But transformation doesn't happen overnight. It happens over time through consistent daily actions. Think about how anything significant in nature grows. Trees don't grow through dramatic spurts. They grow slowly and consistently over years or decades. Rivers don't carve canyons through intense effort. They carve them through consistent flow over millennia. Your life works the same way. The challenge is that consistent actions often feel insignificant in the moment. Reading 10 pages of a book doesn't feel like it's making you much smarter. Doing 20 push-ups doesn't feel like it's making you much stronger. Saving 50 doesn't feel like it's building much wealth. But these small actions repeated consistently create remarkable transformations over time. This is why most people struggle with consistency. The benefits are not immediately visible. So it's easy to skip a day, which turns into skipping a week, which turns into giving up entirely. Consistency requires faith in the process and patience with the results. The secret to building consistency is to start smaller than you think you should. Most people fail at consistency because they try to do too much too soon. They set unrealistic expectations and rely on motivation, which inevitably fades. Instead of trying to exercise for an hour every day, start with 10 minutes. Instead of trying to meditate for 30 minutes, start with 2 minutes. Instead of trying to read for an hour, start with 5 pages. The goal is not to get dramatic results from these small actions. The goal is to establish the pattern of consistency. Once the pattern is established, you can gradually increase the intensity. But the foundation of consistency must come first. It's better to do something small every day than something big occasionally. Create systems that support consistency rather than relying on motivation. Motivation is emotional and temporary. Systems are practical and permanent. Design your environment, schedule, and habits to make consistency easier and inconsistency harder. Track your consistency, not just your results. Use a simple tracking method like marking an X on a calendar or moving a paper clip from one jar to another. The goal is to create a visual representation of your consistency that motivates you to maintain the streak. Understand that perfection is the enemy of consistency. You will miss days occasionally, and that's normal. The key is to get back on track as quickly as possible. Missing once is an accident. Missing twice is the beginning of a new habit. Never let a broken streak become a broken system. Focus on process goals rather than outcome goals. Process goals are about what you do. Outcome goals are about what you achieve. You have complete control over process goals, but only partial control over outcome goals. When you focus on the process, the outcomes take care of themselves. Celebrate small wins along the way. Consistency can feel unrewarding because the benefits accumulate slowly. Combat this by celebrating your consistency itself. Feel proud when you maintain a streak, when you show up despite not feeling like it. When you choose long-term benefit over short-term comfort. Remember that consistency is a skill that transfers across domains. When you develop the ability to be consistent in one area of your life, it becomes easier to be consistent in other areas. Each act of consistency strengthens your overall capacity for self-discipline and follow-through. Use the principle of minimum viable consistency. This means identifying the smallest action that still moves you toward your goal. On your worst days, when motivation is low and obstacles are high, what's the minimum you can do to maintain your streak? Having this minimum standard prevents you from breaking the chain entirely. Batch similar activities together to create consistency routines. Instead of trying to be consistent with 5 separate habits throughout the day, create morning or evening routines that combine multiple habits into a single consistent block. Find accountability partners or systems that support your consistency. This might be a workout partner, a writing group, or a public commitment. External accountability can help maintain consistency when internal motivation wavers. Understand that consistency creates momentum, and momentum makes everything easier. The hardest part of any consistent practice is the beginning. Once you've established a pattern, it becomes much easier to maintain. Consistency builds on itself, creating positive feedback loops that make future consistency more likely. Finally, remember that consistency is not about never failing. It's about consistently returning to your practices after you fail. The most consistent people are not those who never miss a day. They're those who miss the fewest days and get back on track the fastest when they do miss. Consistency is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. It's the difference between having good intentions and achieving real results. It's the compound interest of personal development, creating extraordinary outcomes through ordinary actions repeated over time. In a world that celebrates intensity and dramatic transformation, consistency is your secret weapon. While others burn out from unsustainable effort, you'll steadily progress toward your goals through the power of showing up every single day. Choose consistency and let time work its magic.